Hello everyone, it's another Tuesday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Murayo Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies with me. White Gay in the building.
Good morning.
How you doing?
How are you? I saw your walk on TV. Well done, ladies.
Sure.
I'm sorry I couldn't make it.
Oh, the walk. Yeah, you couldn't make it.
Yeah, I couldn't make it. I had promised to take my grandkids out. They're leaving soon, and they have not been out of the house since they came. So I said, and if I came, I would not. And then, of course, Theo was having this memorial for his friend that died. I had to attend that as well.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Well, good to see you.
Your fans missed you, but we told them that.
You look a bit tired,
The next one, eh?
You look a bit tired. Just me.
You are not. You are.
I'm right. I'm accurate.
You are very accurate. That's my grandson.
Oh,
Wonderful.
He doesn't sleep.
Oh my God.
He does not sleep.
So
And he's sleeping in my room.
Oh.
And on Thursday, I left. I had a headache. He would now. When I've left him. I leave him and I sleep. He will now wake me, Grandma. I will say, Temire, will you just go to sleep? I can't sleep. Yeah.
Oh, you now miss him when they now go.
Yes, I will miss him. But they're not on that sleep matter.
Grandma duties. Well done. How are you doing, Topsy?
I'm very good. I wasn't on the show yesterday, so let me just do a quick banter about the work. I really enjoyed the time. It was nice connecting with people. I'm really grateful for everyone that showed up. I didn't believe I could do a 2-hour walk. It was a 2-hour walk, and the energy was just so positive, and it was nice to just be in a group of people that there was just so much love, you know. And I think it's something we need more of. Events that would just be purely about celebrating one another, positive environment, it was good energy, and I'm very grateful.
Yeah. And I saw Yakub.
Yes.
And I said, Yakub. I didn't recognize because the last time he came on our show, many years ago, it was his voice. That's Yakub. I said, see Yakub.
How are you doing, BC?
I'm doing amazing. I'm looking forward to the Easter celebrations, the Salah celebrations. I have started doing sales for hair and clothes. I'm giving 10% discount to anyone who shops with us this season. So I've been working today. Now when I get back home, I'll start doing posting. So you see the products that are available for sales. I'm just excited.
I like this top. Is that TVC or you?
TVC, me now, because I bought it over.
Because it's like,
was so you.
I wanted to buy it from you. I wanted to buy it because I really like the top.
I want to replicate this, but in a duress silk.
I want to buy it. Please, I'm buying already.
No problem.
Just look up for me.
I saw you on Journalist Hangout yesterday.
Yes, I was
I'm
blown.
Don't blow, finish.
Yes, so Mama, I made it.
Yes, that's TVC's way of supporting our cause. And I appreciate that. Thank you so much to TVC.
Thank you.
Let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we go through the front pages of the paper. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
All right, we're going to start with the nation. Governors-elect at war over funds and projects. Presidential poll credible says APC writes U.S. Biden and McCarthy. APC organs should function, National Working Committee members tell Adamu. Suspect killer of lawyer Vandy has case to answer court rules. Why we are wary of government regulation by media owners. NFIU may give governors more time to comply with cash limit. Funeral for Kalu's wife to hold in U.S. Singapore Portable gets bail. Union Bank tenure extension for Naseni CEO Haruna. Okay, which story are we starting with?
The federal government has extended the deadline for cash withdrawal for security votes till April 15th. According to The Nation, they said that the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, NFIU, granted the extension to governors after intense negotiations. So the April 15 extension will be ratified at a special meeting convened by the NFIU with the Nigerian Governors Forum and others, and it's going to be virtually by 9 p.m. today. They will also discuss the Naira redesign and the controversies that followed everything. So According to the source, they said at the meeting, the NFIU will wait to hear what the state governors have to say, but they have already been informed of the extension ahead of the meeting. Now, the state governors can withdraw cash for security votes up to 15th of April. They wait to hear what the governors have to say as well, and the extension is only granted for the security votes. I think the governors are saying that the NFIU does not even have the rights to give them this extension or not, but after 9 p.m. today, we'll know what next.
Okay, so the media, in a bold move to regulate itself, independent media complaints have put together something called the National Ombudsman to interface between practitioners and the public. So they found that government's regulation of media hasn't really been consistent, and many people don't trust government's regulations. So there is like an intervention, and this is the brainchild of the NPO, that's the Nigerian Press Council, and in collaboration with NUJ, NJE, NGE, that's the Nigerian Guild of Editors, Nigerian Union of Journalists, the GoCup, and of course ours, BON. So these groups have come together and they're forming an ombudsman, and they'll be the one to be able to internally regulate the media. So that is ensuring that they are going to be the watchers of the watchdogs, which are us, you know. So it's a good intervention. Many media practitioners in the past have actually fought for this because they felt that it's difficult to let government regulate media, because sometimes they regulate media based on their own preferences, based on which party is on, how it benefits them or their own objectives. When you have an independent institution, organization that actually regulates, makes it a bit more, give a fair level playing ground. So this is a good thing for many media practitioners, and we hope to see how it goes.
Okay, I wanted to take the Portable story. So Portable, also known, well, his real name is Habib Okikiola.
I never knew his real name. Habib Okikiola. Wow.
Very fine name.
He has pleaded not guilty. He was on 2 counts. They charged him, the first one with unlawful assault of one Osimosu Emmanuel Oluwafemi, and stealing a Yamaha H55 studio monitor, complete Studio 2 interface connection cable, and the second suit was assaulting a police officer when they went to arrest him. So the first one, he got 300K bail, and the second one, 500K bail. The case has been adjourned to April 26th for commencement of trial. He pleaded not guilty to both charges.
Okay, so let me take this sad story of the senator, the wife of Senator Oji Uzo Kalu, the chief whip, and she died at the age of 61 in the United States. The chief whip, Senator Uzo Kalu, put out a press release expressing the fact that with heavy heart is explaining the wife's passing. And he mentioned how she's been a very virtuous woman committed to service of God and humanity, and that there is a memorial service would take place in her honor in the U.S. And everybody has been, a lot of people have been sending condolence messages. The president's message came through Mr. Femi Adesina, the special advisor on media and publicity, urging friends and family to pray. The president-elect, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, also extends his condolences. Many senators, all of them saying that they daily, their heart goes out to the family.
Yeah.
The Punch. Military vows crackdown on security threats, warns IPOB and others. 1 killed, scores injured as Rivers APC PDP supporters clash. Ramadan, divorce among young couples, alarming, says Shirk. Absence of Lagos bishop accused of raping pastor stalls trial. Ohaneze Tinubu Sanwo-Olu, others mourn Orji Kalu's wife. The federal government approves 173 loan applications, bars illegal online banking, and shareholders protest Owando planned delisting share acquisition. And one key, okay, I've taken that story. So let me take the Sheikh Ayuba Abubakar of the FCT. These days, I've been taking a lot of Sheikh's Ramadan lectures, reports in Punch. He has expressed the worry over the high rates of divorce, especially in the FCT. According to him, this high rate of divorce in India is so alarming that young people in 2 years, they say they are done. They're done with their marriages. that we have discovered that in so many of it, there is no other way than to just divorce and separate them for peace to reign. The implication of this is that we don't follow the Islamic regulation by offering prayers to Allah and guidance before starting marriage. The teaching is for husband to know that his duty and his rights, the teaching is for the husband to know his duty and his rights, and the wife to lower her own duty and rights. Those rules are to bring harmony in our homes. And as painful as divorce is, it's acceptable in Islam. So, but they choose not to do it. So please ensure that you choose the right person and ask for Allah's guidance. I like how these days the Ramadan lectures have been very specific. I think last time I took something about how to
do the fast and do the do.
How to fast and do the, and so it's really interesting that it's really teaching people.
So they are very explicit.
Yes.
You know how to break it down. Yeah, I admire them for that. So Port Harcourt, River State's capital, yesterday, supporters of the All Progressive Congress and the People's Democratic Party clashed along Aba Road in the city over the outcome of the March 18 governorship election. So according to the story, they said the supporters of PDP as early as 8 a.m. stormed the office of INEC office along Aba Road and asking the commission to allow them have a joint inspection of election materials by political parties ahead of the election petition tribunal. They had placards, and they took to the streets around that GRA area, and they were demonstrating, made sure that a lot of vehicular movements was paralyzed at the point. Now, the APC as well, so according to the story as well, the APC governorship candidate, Tony Cole, was coming also to get the result sheets for the tribunal as well, and then immediately the PDP protesters saw that the APC people were coming. They started hurling stones, and he was whisked away. So he is saying now that they have not allowed him to have that result sheet, so he doesn't know, and they are saying that they are going to be there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so they wouldn't allow him get access to what he needs for the petition tribunal. PDP, on the other hand, is saying that no, that they came there to get what they wanted, but it was the APC protesters that started disturbing them and shot in the air, and one of them died. And so they are calling for the heads of the APC members that they should be, especially the governor, Tony Cole, that he must be arrested, governor-elect, that he must be arrested. So it's been this clash between these two political parties.
No, Tony Cole is not the governor-elect, too.
He's the one that is going there.
He's the one that is...
yes.
He's the candidate, yeah.
The candidate he wants to pick up.
He wants to, yes, evidence against the PDP government.
Let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue with our review. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right.
Thanks for staying with us. We're still reviewing. Okay, moving on now to date.
No, we still have
Story Punch.
Yes.
Yeah.
The IATA, that is the International Air Transport Association, the Switzerland-based trade organization, has said that the funds trapped in Nigeria belonging to airlines, foreign airlines, has risen to $802 million. They said that the airlines may be forced to reduce their service in our country because of the blocked, because the countries, they might be forced to reduce services in airlines that are blocking their funds from coming in, and is capable of affecting the growth of the African aviation industry. They also mentioned that the total funds locked down in Africa is 1.6 billion, and about half of that is in Nigeria alone. Algeria also has one of the Algeria has a very, very high amount of money also locked within them, and some other countries as well. And the challenge is that it would affect the total African landscape. So they're encouraging the CBN. It seems like an appeal, because the story has been coming up over and over again, for the Nigerian government to find a way to release funds to the foreign airlines, so that they can operate their business.
We have the dollars.
$600 million. That's a lot
Where
of
will
money.
we see it from?
Okay.
Anyway, I wanted to check the absence of the Lagos bishop for the court case. Yeah. He had taken his case came up, I think it was yesterday, and when he got there, he was not there. So the prosecutor said, that when they investigated, the police gave him bail, and when they went there to check him, he seemed to have relocated, but that they are sure that he's seeking. She was seeking adjournment. That they are sure that the pastor was in Abuja for a church program.
Wow.
Meanwhile, the victims.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys remember.
Oh, we didn't run away.
Ah, well.
That was the story about.
You remember that case where he used to invite them from his parish, I think in Ondo, to Lagos, and he would sleep with them or rape them.
The assistant pastor and one.
And the assistant pastor, yeah, you remember the story. So
Okay.
they are the ones now
pushing
for saying that they want to put it under the table.
All right, Daily Sun, National Assembly leaders tussle unsettles APC. 447 suspected cholera cases reported in Cross River, Ebonyi. About 3 others, I think I took up the story yesterday. Protesters ground INEC headquarters, one US, UK, other against promoting insurrection. Union Bank's Naseni's EVC tenure extension by Buhari. It won't gag press, but make it work professionally, says Ombudsman. You can't decide Nigeria's sovereignty, Army Chief tells IPOB and other groups. An anti-Tinubu air passenger arraigned, remanded in court. All right, which story are we starting with?
Go ahead.
About protesters they call themselves the natives, grounded activities at INEC headquarters. They also sent a message to the US and the UK and all the international community that, hey, just hold on. The election that took place February 25th in 2023 was successful, and it's been decided. The presidential election has already been done, that they shouldn't make utterances that would promote insurrection within Nigeria. They warn that they have 20 million members across the country who will resist any form of intimidation from other political parties such as Labour and PDP, and that everybody should support the current, respect the current president-elect Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. They have a supreme leader called Smart Edwards. He was the one that spoke to the INEC officials, and the group said they were thanking. It was a Thanksgiving or appreciation visit, and that they wanted to pass a strong message against bad losers, according to them, cautioning Labour Party and PDP. That's basically
Okay, let me take the story of the Mr. Obiajulu Uja. That's the gentleman that went to discuss the nuisance and disturbance on the plane. He's been arraigned to court. So his lawyer, Ejike Ugo, disclosed this yesterday, saying that he was taken to court and that he was actually bundled from the airplane straight to the hospital. Unfortunately, at the hospital, they didn't have the psychologist or psychiatrist to examine him. And he was worried that at the point of them waiting for another doctor to come, the police then immediately charged him to court. So he is a lawyer saying that at least they should allow the medical examination to come through and get the results of the medical examination, which eventually actually happened. Let them give him some medication before taking him to court. But unfortunately, they didn't listen to him. He was charged immediately to court. And if you recall, this is the man that went on plane and started a lone protest demanding that the president-elect Bola Tinubu must never be sworn in May 29th. And currently, he's in custody.
You know, he had started his wahala before he boarded the plane.
Yes.
You know, at that point, he should not even have been allowed to board the plane. Because he was already constituting
A lot of nuisances that happen like that. They do, people have a right of expression. So even if you say what you want to say, it's okay. But when you start disturbing and causing disturbances, that's when you're breaking the law. So there was nothing wrong. If he was talking before.
No.
He had started.
He had started his wahala, I said. I didn't say
he
was just talking. He had started wahala and abusing people. And it's not normal to be abusing people now.
Okay.
Not normal.
Move on to Vanguard. Return of bandits. Gunmen terrorize Niger State, Kaduna, Kogi, Bayelsa, and Adamawa. Police DSS storm palace of Igbo leader in Lagos for clues. Tinubu supporters to mobilize 20 million Nigerians against interim government. Nigerian media inaugurates National Complaints Commission. ING plot, conclude presidential petitions before May 29th, Agbakoba tells tribunal. Portable meets bill condition, regains freedom. May 29th, we reject interim government, says Afenifere. Delta APC crisis deepens as party expels Omo Agege. Rahim, you have case to answer, court tells Killer Cup. Okay, which story are we starting with?
The Pan-Yoruba Socio-Political Organization, Afenifere, yesterday warned against any steps that can jeopardize the handing over of power to elected officers on May 29, 2023. So in a statement by the National Publicity Secretary, Mr. Jare Ajayi, he said the warning was prompted by reports and some steps being taken that the suspects may be prejudicial to the swearing in of winners in the just concluded elections in May 29. We know that the DSS last week confirmed that there were moves on ground to scuttle the planned inauguration. And so Afenifere is saying that they are concerned about this development because of how it's gaining currency in the country. A lot of people are now talking about it, and even outside the country. And these steps would, rubbish the outcome of the said elections. It will affect everybody from state level to National Assembly to local government to governorship. Everyone will be affected, and this is not what they want for our country, Nigeria. It says they know that protests are being conducted in Abuja, United States of America, over the said result of the elections, and this is going to be disrupting all ties of government as a whole. So they are asking that people exercise a lot of caution. There are laws of the land that are created to address such issues. So if you have issues with the outcome of the governorship or the presidential election, you have to seek redress through the courts. And also the courts should do what they need to do to just, help bring the rule of power to bear. And so we must be very, very careful so we don't end up taking ourselves back from where we're coming.
Okay, let me take the story from... The former NBA president was saying that we can actually conclude the presidential petitions before May 29th, according to Mr. Olisa Agbakoba SEN, was saying that actually to prevent the interim government that is being purported in some quarters, that it's important for us to complete all the hearing of the petitions before May 29th. I said the tension around the call for interim government is that the presidential election petition may not conclude before the inauguration of the new president. But it's very possible to conclude these petitions provided the court systems are very proactive. According to him, the issues are usually procedural and direction issues. So he says that the tribunals are urged, therefore, to adapt the procedures very familiar with speedy conclusion of arbitration matters. So if they do that, hopefully they can conclude before May 29th, because there are three key issues. It's about the, I think it's section 134 of the Constitution that about the 25% of states and the FCT and a few other issues. So there are about 2 or 3 key issues, and if he believes that they can actually conclude this before May 29th inauguration.
So let me take the Omoagege story.
Go on.
Oh, okay, that was what you were going
No.
Okay. The State Executive Committee held a meeting on the 31st of March and at the State Secretariat of APC, and they decided that it was a flag bearer for the governorship election in Delta State, and he's a senator, and they said that they've expelled him, that Senator Omoagege, as a member of the party. The reasons they sent out this communique, they said that the reasons they gave was that he worked against the party during the governorship election. They said he favored, during the presidential election, and that he favored Labour Party during the presidential election. They also mentioned that he gave more projects, community projects, to his own senatorial districts against other senatorial districts. They said the LG has approved the expulsion and forwarded it to the states, that's from the local government level, and they are calling on the national leadership of the party to approve Omoagege's expulsion immediately without delay, and that it would not affect any other member of the party. The party should go about their normal business. But there's been a crisis within the APC, and this seemed like their way of resolving the crisis within the Delta State chapter of APC.
Okay,
So
very
I wanted to take the Eze Indigbo story. Yeah, he was invited, he tried to invite the IPOB They said heavily armed policemen and officials of the Department of State Services stormed the residence of the embattled Eze Ndigbo of Ajao's estate, and he was arrested. Apparently, they went to his house. He wasn't there. He had gone to a hotel. They found out, went there, and they took him. So they now went back to his house to find incriminating evidence. They took him handcuffed to his house to see if they could find any incriminating evidence, which they didn't. They said they left quite disappointed because they had planned to take him to court, but they haven't found any incriminating evidence against him.
He was just
I think he was just, talking.
From
All right, so I have to run, but there's a story I really think I should get. The cyber defamation. Since we're in the season of cyber defamation and bullying, there's a case that is in Edo State Police Command yesterday placed 5 million naira bounty. Let me give you the name of the person. Her name is Rachel Ebony Osazi Inyomana. She lives in Canada over alleged cyber bullying, stalking, defamation, and impersonation. According to the report, I think it was the commissioner had sent a report to the Nigerian Union of Journalists in Edo State over the alleged bullying of this person. They said that the police had been on her trail to effect her arrest, and intelligence said that she's in Canada. One officer said that the suspect opened multiple Facebook accounts using petitioners' photographs and full name on Facebook and using demeaning, derogatory language to defame the petitioner's personality. The suspect used the internet space to bully and even defame his character. And therefore, the police has put a 5 million naira bounty on whoever knows this person. I think it's time we begin to start taking these people to court so that people know that it's not okay to defame people and just hook up fake news. All right, that is all we can take on today's front page review. When we come back, move on to our hot topic of the day. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So today's topic is quite painful to discuss, but it's one of those controversies that's been trailing the viral video of an Anambra woman who was forced to walk over her daughter's corpse to prove her innocence in the girl's death. This was a story taken from the Linda Ikechi's blog, where it was gathered that members of the community had accused the girl's mother, Azuka Emene, of having a hand in her death, an allegation that she denied. Now, we've discussed this about issue of culture seem to be targeting women in our society. We've discussed the thin line between modernization and cultural beliefs. Where do we draw the line between what is culturally acceptable or the practice of a community versus modernization? These are conversations that are going to be ongoing for a while. Also, there's a part of how do we solve this? Is this sensitization or is this sanctioning? Do we create laws to stop it, or do we just continue to educate people to make them understand, to see better ways of doing things? That's our conversation today. You can call us on the numbers on your screen and let us know your thoughts on this. Let me start with you, ladies. What are your thoughts on this? Again, as I said, culture and modernity. Some will say, this is our practice. We've been doing this. It doesn't mean that we're accusing her of anything. There are certain rituals we put together, and it's based on your ability to cross over that lets us know if indeed you had. Sometimes it's ways communities check each other and try to maintain law and order within their communities. But modernization have moved many from that and try to bring in new ways of doing things. In your view, what do you think happened there, and how do you interpret it? Especially, how do we resolve or address these kind of issues? Okay.
Our culture definitely victimizes someone who is... this woman, as many women, widows, someone who just lost someone, lost a child. Being victimized is a totally evil thing to do. Imagine if she couldn't walk across her daughter. They would now say she's the one that did it, when maybe she was overcome by emotion of seeing her lifeless daughter's body. Very wrong. I think that when it comes to culture, we human beings create culture, and as we become more informed, we should be reforming culture. I don't believe that it is just a case of, I believe it's a carrot and stick approach. There should be prosecution of things like this when it comes up, and there must be an extensive awareness going ahead that this is no longer allowed. Going back to when we discuss culture, we talk about stakeholders in creating change. We have the Ezes of every community, the people, the custodian of the culture, those that implement and enforce these rules. They are the first people to be made aware of the change in policy. But are the people in this community ready for a change in policy? Do they want a change in their culture? Are they okay with the way things are? I'm not from this community. I'm not an Igbo person. So from me as an outsider, I'm looking at it that what kind of horrible thing are you putting this woman into? But within that community, the change must stem from within them. Their leaders, the enlightened ones there would say, we must create a better way to handle this challenge. What is a better way to handle this challenge? Is that a grieving person should grieve. There are medical procedures to ascertain what is the cause of death. Back in the days, there might not be, so we might need to use different means to ascertain maybe the way her face now looked when she was crossing over, maybe the way she could not drink the water of something. But now, autopsy is available. Right. You can trace. Yeah. Investigation is available. We now have police. We now have judiciary. Let the system run its course.
And the reason why I'm pausing you, I always say this on the table, that Nigeria's problem, for me, my personal view, is us, the middle class. We are the ones that know autopsy. They don't know autopsy. We keep forcing our enlightenment and exposure on the community of people. I always say that we, the middle class, we are the problems of many of these, of Nigeria, that a lot of the problems that Nigerians are seeing, because we always assume that we are all on the same level. Everybody knows that it's autopsy. Everybody knows that this is how it is. But there's a huge community, there's a huge percentage of Nigerians who actually don't care about autopsy. They have a system that's been working for them for years. Instead of you imposing your autopsy on them, is there a way we can understand where they are coming from? It's okay. Yes. What if, okay, let me let you jump in here before I say
okay, I love this angle that you're taking, Morayo, because the first thing I saw, when I looked at that video was, oh, this is unfair. But then I realized that culture is a way of life, of people. We, like Tokwe said, create our cultures. And the culture could be serving for a very long time. The problem is now, how do we update and upgrade this culture as we grow ourselves, as the society grows? And we are not all growing on the same level. You have just mentioned that there are people who understand what autopsy is called. There are people who, they don't even know what that is. They don't even have hospitals in their location. They still go to traditional homes to bed their babies. They still use herbs. They combine agbo, combine this, combine that to heal themselves of infirmities. We are all not on the same level. And so we must be a little bit more patient with people who we think are still coming out. And that is why we must begin the conversations with the local chiefs. So you meet the people who are at the helms of affairs, the government, would meet with the local chiefs and say, okay, what are your customs? How do you handle issues? When somebody steals yam in the market, what is your procedure? What's your culture? How do you handle it? And then they say, okay, normally we use broom and chase you away and, ostracize you from the community and say, no. Do you know that you can have a conversation? Do you know that you can bring this person to the police? Do you know that they are setting? So we must begin to have this conversation with compassion, because the mindset of the people are at different levels and they will not understand. So for instance, I don't think a society will sit down and just want to accuse a mother of killing her child. They may have seen something or noticed something and they say, okay, to prove this woman's innocence, why don't you walk across this? This is how they have been doing it. For you to change that, you have to get into their mindsets to understand that when a woman loses a child, the woman is grieving. And that facial expression you're looking for when they cross the corpse, you may misread it because the woman is not in a state for you to access anything. That person it takes deep conversation, and the local government, we must empower the local government.
Let me come to YK. YK, so this is what we saw. But hypothetically speaking, what if she actually killed her child? Now, would there have been a better way to handle this? Because there are crazy people everywhere. Anybody can do anything.
Hypothetically speaking, if she had killed her child, she would find it very easy to walk across the child.
Sure. Because we need to the full video.
I'm just saying the clip, that if she killed her child, to me, I do not agree with the law in any way, shape, or form. I do not agree with that culture in any way, shape, or form, because if I am heartless enough to kill my child, I am heartless enough to walk over the body. It will mean nothing to me. So it doesn't make sense. And I do not like these cultures that demean women. If the woman, if she's a grieving mother, and you make her walk over her child to prove her innocence, that to me is wickedness. Now, most of these laws are instituted by men. And then there are women who maybe you don't know whether I have anything against Obiajulu. So I would say yes. Yes. Let her walk over, because maybe I'm even the one that killed the child. And I want to punish her extra. So I don't, it doesn't concern government. Law is law. It's not allowed. To me. So, it is inhuman.
Yeah.
So, to stop all this, you make a woman who is grieving her husband drink the husband and sleep with the corpse for 7 days. Let us all put ourselves in that position. We will not like it. You say because you are a girl, you cannot inherit your father's property. Why?
All right, so I think, Waiki, all of us on this table, as I said before, we all pretty much agree that there are way better ways of doing things. But there was somebody that shared me a story. It was very recently. She said that when she was, this is an over 60-year-old woman sharing the story. She said many years ago, when she just had her first baby, and she was in a hospital by herself, with her, and she saw other women in the ward, and they came to her and they were looking at me, Madam, so where are your other wives? Are they not here to support you, to help you? Because she was in pain. And she was wondering, I don't have any other wives. You don't have other wives, it's only you. Okay, yes, it's only me. Say, oh, Masho, for them then,
culturally,
it was pathetic. It was pathetic to see somebody in so much pain, and she doesn't have junior wives
to assist
or support, or two other senior wives to support her birth. That was culture. Fast forward 40 years after. Who would come and start saying, oh, where are your other wives?
And
so
the other
change.
wives too will feel like it is...
So the point I'm trying to make is that whether we like it or not, there are some cultural values that still stay here.
Yeah.
We enlightened ones decide which one is humane and which one is not.
Which one can we keep?
To them, which one? But to some people who are still custodians of this, to them it's not inhumane. It's still is what their fathers have done. Yeah. So the solution is not just for us to lament like the average Nigerian are lamenting about, oh, Israel, how can they allow her to do that? But how do we really begin to resolve this? What are the real constructive ways we can begin to change? Would the laws fix it?
No, laws would not fix it. Laws never.
Let me let you respond after
people.
The break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. Dr. Yehia is going to say something for the
I was going to say that laws never actually change culture. In most cases, cultures would happen when we educate. Education, nobody had to force me to do, education made me understand the importance of washing my hands more than you telling me you must wash your hand every day. I'll wash it because you say so. But when I am educated to understand that if I don't, I'm putting germs into my body and I harm myself and my family, I would be more intentional about keeping my hygiene. I think that the long-term solution for us as a country to truly develop, to drop away this, a lot of our bad culture,
disempowering culture.
Disempowering culture is to be well educated, like educated in terms of not just four walls, but enlightening people. Before, culturally, people gathered in front of their obas. They had town meetings, and those were platforms to disseminate information, educate people. Oh, there's a new disease. Or one person died when they went around that tree. So what we're going to do now, we won't be going to those trees again. Village square meeting. These were opportunities to educate everybody. This is a shameful thing. We don't do things like this. When we move away from those empowering culture, and we still hold on to disempowering culture, then we must find a way to ensure that there is a flat-out education for everybody. Brian, you point finger at the middle class, that they are informed and they now look down on those that are not informed. We must level the ground. That's why people go to the UK and the US and they be like, there's no, everybody is equal, because all of us know that no matter what happens, we go to the hospital, we get treated. We know we go to the schools, we get treated. People leave Nigeria that they are paying private schools, they go abroad and they take their children to public schools, and they don't feel any way less than the cleaner whose child is in that public school, because I'm a banker and my child is in the public school. So we must level that playing field and ensure there's education for everybody.
So talking about level playing field, and that's some of the roles our first ladies used to play back in the day. Remember Rural Life for Better Women, Better Life for Rural Women, Miriam Babangida. See, there was a serious campaign to target rural women, because that's where you have many first ladies come out, actually engage. Commissioner, ministries of women affairs, you know, so many, because we are the custodians, we are the ones that can actually educate.
We don't
the Obas, the Oloris. All the Oloris of our Obas today,
supposed to be
still
their
are parties
jobs.
and dancing.
It's just beauty.
There is work to be done. There's serious work to be done.
Well, my own thing is that it is not all culture that is bad. We have some very positive parts of our culture
that we must keep.
We must retain. What I'm saying is, when you find one that is archaic, you need to put a stop to it. Now, remember one woman that they beat, that we called the first lady, that she made some show of.
Was it Anambra also? I'm not sure which state.
Anambra.
Obiano. What state was it? I can't remember his state. But I remember him her saying, they were going to do something. I never heard anything after that.
She did actually try to work. I think they did something.
I'm just saying I didn't hear. Maybe she did, maybe she didn't. I'm just saying that where you say the first ladies, I agree, should actually go into these communities, because those cultures will not affect them. Like if her husband had died in office, nobody's going to come and tell her to sit down with any corpse.
Let me take this call from Oluwaseun, calling from Ikeja. Good morning, Oluwaseun. Are you there?
Yeah, good morning.
You're live. Thanks for staying with us.
It's a beautiful day. You guys are looking great.
Thank you.
Yeah. I want to say this, and I will always say this, that laws are made for men. Men are not made for law. So these cultures can be modified. If they are not, would not be ruled by president, governors now, will still be, in that old age where we have, the Obas, and we have the chiefs ruling. Now, because we are now in the light age, there is need for grassroots education through our local government. That's why we have local government. Local government is still very closer to the people. Then through the system of the Obas, the Palas, the chief, we can begin to modify all this, barbaric, stop all this barbaric culture and modify the ones we could modify and retain the ones that really, that the world, the global world will see and will like, oh, wow, these people are good people. Not all this barbaric. We should stop it. Government should do something quickly about it.
Thank you, Oluwaseun. Go ahead, please.
Yes, so I personally believe that these cultural rules and religious rules were designed for the poor, to keep them under control. Because in that same society, if it happens to a rich man, nobody, no umwada dares carry broom to go anywhere and say, come and cross over. Nothing like that happens. And so that is where governments must step in to protect the poor. When government is getting into power, these are some of the conversations that they will be having. We need people who will sit down and say, I want to be the governor of this state because there are some things I have noticed that is working against us that I want to change. And then they will have people who would be on the National Assembly who will be passing these bills, making those laws to change for the betterment of that state. Governors must take ownership for it. It's embarrassing to have a state, maybe like one state in either the north or the east or the west or middle belt, still having these barbaric practices, and they have a governor of that state. It means that the governors are not thinking of ways to develop their people. So it's not about developing a certain class of people, the elites, and then you move your children away. You just, face one direction, and then every other person struggles and suffers. You must lift your state up to meet a certain standard, and that's where the competition comes in. So if I see that in a state like Lagos, some of these things are not allowed anymore, and people are looking forward to being in Lagos because they know that there's human rights, there's this, there's that. I will want to do something for my state so that everybody wants to come to my state.
Well, can I also add this caveat in this whole thing? Possibly the reason why many of our leaders, and I'll probably say maybe the local government chairmen, the baales, the first ladies of this state, don't want to get involved in this cultural practice because of fear.
What kind of
that
fear?
The gods, with the smaller G, will strike them.
The gods,
it's possible because there's that fear. Because as much as we want to prove, we're more enlightened, we're exposed.
I don't think
But wait,
let's leave that one.
Let us leave that one. That some people are fearful that if I try to change, because the constituents will tell you that if you do this, the God of Kinika will
lie.
I think another angle, let me give you another angle. That it's not that the gods, because you brought this angle, like maybe they are scared of the gods. I think they are scared of the people coming against them.
And the people are the constituents of the culture. People are coming against them because they believe in something would happen.
When you are a politician,
yes,
you try to side with the people. Because you know that if you say anything that would gather a crowd of people, and religion, this culture is sort of like linked to the traditional religion. So you have people that truly believe these things with all their heart, body, and soul. And then you want to not tell them that everything they're doing is totally wrong like that. It will make them turn against you, and you might lose that platform. You might not get re-elected. So it is common sense to say, let them do, as long as they're not harming majority. But if you truly love your people, you will educate them. Leave the adults, face the children. When you face the children, adults, in the next 50 years, they will go. So the children should not inculcate those same bad, disempowering cultures, because you've ensure that there's education to all the children. So if the fact that we have some villages that children don't have access to schools, that's a problem. That means they don't value the future. They want things to perpetuate at the lower class, and then we now have that disparity between elites and the poor.
Disagree that it's because they are afraid of any gods. They are not afraid of nothing. When they were going for election, where did they go?
They went to gods.
Excuse me. To go and do what? Just fertility. Excuse me. When they get there, they don't think of nothing. They only think of what they are going to amass. Yes. And then they think of going to the party and spraying. What do we see them doing? How many of them?
I hear you, Wike, and that is the perspective.
That's the majority.
Many people. I would like us.
What I'm saying, it is they do not care enough, because if you cared enough, you will find a solution.
Yeah.
Okay.
Simple.
Point taken. What?
The gods are dead.
Whether God or no God, you will find a solution. God will agree with you. God will even support you. The gods will support you in your re-election bid.
The point I'm trying to make is that I hear you, and that's a valid point that many Nigerians understand.
Yeah.
However, we must begin to get to the point where we don't always assume all politicians are all bad.
I didn't say all politicians.
Because the way you said they all went there and that's what they are trying to amass. Not all of them have gone to amass. Some actually
gone where?
Not all of them have gone to government to go and amass. There are some that actually had good intentions. Have gone in there. So don't let them always generalize. We need to start.
Do you know what? Well, let me help you there. Let me help you there. If you have a basket of eggs and you put one rotten egg inside that basket, what happens to the?
All become rotten.
So when we generalize, it's only because of the bad eggs. So it's now remaining the good eggs now to make sure that they stop. Yes, don't use this bad egg. You must leave this basket.
All right. Okay. Point taken. Let me take. I think Brown is hold. Mr. Brown, I'm going to charge you for this. My name. Brown from Delta. You're live. Go ahead.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I've been holding on for about 2 minutes.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
YK.
All right, on this cultural thing, I think my contribution will be that there will be a time when these cultures will fade away naturally. Because there was a time when they were killing fools.
Somebody educated.
There was a time when they were circumcising women.
Yes.
Yeah.
They no longer do those things, and nothing is happening to anybody. Nothing is happening to anybody. I don't see how walking over a corpse to make somebody get proven guilty or not guilty. So these are just superstitious beliefs that we need to believe them. But I think they will naturally fade away, and nothing will still happen. Civilization will think about these things, and nothing will happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let's go on a quick break. When we come
didn't
back,
really hear
we'll
what
take
he said.
more. Stay with us right back.
Said the things.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So our last caller, let me start from where he left off. So he was talking about culture. It says culture will fade by itself. But so the question is, do we allow culture to evolve on itself, or do we force the evolution? Do we insist on the change, or do we allow it to naturally change? Tope, I want to go with you.
So I think that the last caller, his statements made it look like these things would go over time. No, those things did not change over time by themselves. Things change because some people intentionally passed information to educate people about what is important. For me, for this part of our on disempowering cultures to change, we need to, communities where they have it as a challenge. In the Southwest, there are still a few communities where they still do female genital mutilation, but there are few of them, and there are some NGOs who have taken it upon themselves to keep on empowering, educating the community, educating the stakeholders, the ones who it is their livelihood to, that's how they make a living, by inflicting it to check other means. Before, we used to have traditional marks everywhere. People were having different traditional marks. It was education. So it goes back to enlightening the people. Leave nobody behind. If your state still goes through, they still have this disempowering cultural traits that they still carry out, please ensure that we all have a...
Let me take this message to add to what you're saying. Somebody just sent me a message. I'm not sure who the person is. She said that there's a difference between heritage and barbarism. And some of the ladies and callers are modeling it up. A caller even said culture will fade away. Heritage is identity. I think Western TV has really messed us up. So she's trying to say that there's some cases that are barbaric. Now, who determines what is barbaric? Because I remember that even in the Bible, King Solomon had to deal with a case where they were about to cut a baby in half because somebody says, this mine is not mine. That was their own way of solving a problem. There have been so many barbaric ways we've seen people done in the past. Yeah. But at what point do we begin to see differently and choose differently?
Yeah, so Solomon was not going to cut up that baby.
Yes, I'm just saying it was just an example.
Wisdom to test and try to see who is the rightful owner. And I think that is where some of our cultures come from. So this has been happening and this happens. Probably they've identified somebody as a witch and then a child dies and they say, okay, this woman, because she's a witch, she's killed people before, she could have been the one. So how do we identify that she is the one so that she's rightly punished? And those were ways that were, conjured up for survival at the time. But times are changing and we must move with it. And you're asking a very valid question. Who determines what is barbaric? There's a reason why education is coming and people's minds are opening up. If you're in a family and you have someone who is a professor and you have a family meeting and everybody is talking, when the professor speaks, people will listen more because they believe that for this guy to get to this highest level of education, he knows better. He has seen better. So those of us who are educated, who have seen better, who know better, can determine what works and what doesn't work. And what I've also noticed is that this culture and tradition benefits some people. There are some people who benefit from it, and those ones are the ones that we fight the government if they say we want to abolish this, because it benefits them. For instance, there's a place I know that before they get the Umuada to come and do all this their stuff, they buy drinks for them. They pay some fine. They provide food, they provide goats, they provide, who is eating all those things? It's benefiting those people. So anywhere you hear that, we're going to chase a woman out or she has committed adultery, you see them, everybody is, because they know at the end of the day, they will share money, they will share food, they will share drinks. Those people will fight when you want to change that. So you must identify that as a government and a law body to say, we cannot just wait and allow it evolve out because there are custodians who will keep it because it's benefiting them. We must have laws to push this. So if we identify that this is no longer serving us, that's the body of the enlightened people say, this is not good for us. This is dehumanizing to our people, right? We identify that we must have a law that we back it up and we say, this is no longer acceptable in this culture. Anybody who does it will either be fined, will go to jail, will go. That is a way to deter people.
But I always have to go back to where we the people come in. Because when we know better, instead of taking out time to re-educate those in our communities, you're getting involved. What you do is take your family, your mother and father, you bring them to the city. Let me remove you from that place, that culture where they're having all this barbaric behavior. Let me bring you to Lagos, bring you to Port Harcourt, bring you to where you can live, or come you to London. Or those that should know better. We don't go back to see how we can do to begin to change our community. No, we're too selfish. We'd rather take our own family, our brothers, our sisters, move them to the city where they are safe from these barbaric behaviors. Let those barbaric people be handling it. So we know the part of government. I'm just saying, I always like to always highlight our own in this also.
Morayo, it's the same way a governor will say, because I want re-election, I'm not going to chase away this culture because they will not vote for me next time. He is selfish, and I have learnt from him. He's my teacher.
He's not your teacher.
He's my teacher. Because if he's selfish, I'm selfish too. In fact, I am selling more than fish.
Always.
Yes, but
transfer.
But it's usually a circle.
Yeah.
We reflect what we see, and what we see the high and mighty.
Exactly.
And so we reflect them more often.
Teacher, don't teach me nonsense.
It's easier when they change for us to see that change trickle down. But there's something that we interviewed before she became a wife of the Oni, Princess, I've forgotten her, but she's a princess. She's now married to the Oni, and they were doing some projects. They came here on the show to talk about how they are dealing with, because Osun still has a bit of female genital mutilation, and they said that they realized some people, culturally, they're like their family job. What they do from children to children is to do, like they passed on for vaginal mutilation and traditional marks. So what would those children do if you take away that job from them? So what they now had to do was to educate the children, got the children scholarship, pay for their school. So they know now that by the time the older ones die out, that culture will automatically die out. So there must be an intentionality to saying, I want to help. And it is not about custom or it's not about our heritage. Our heritage is beautiful. We have art. Many cultures of the world retain their heritage through art, through
our own self.
Yes, through our art. We use those ones to do it. We use our dance. We use our dance.
We have a lot of culture.
Yes. Yeah. We use art to preserve. What I'm saying is that we use art to preserve our culture. We use art to promote our culture. So we know what is good about our culture, and we know the one that is inhuman, that when you hear it, even you will be shocked. Because when I saw this, when I read the story, I was like, in 2023, somebody is having, a woman that lost her child is having to cross over the child. That is inhuman. That one is obviously barbaric.
Can you work on the child?
That was obviously barbaric. So we don't need anybody. We're not modeling up things on the show. Right. We are saying the ones that you know are inhuman. Wash the body of your child and drink the water. All of those are barbaric. So those ones
those of us that come from those villages.
Let's go back.
Let's go back and educate. There's one in Ikorodu, because Lagos is not totally exempted. There's Ikorodu. They do all sort of things in different places. The point is that we are all from these places. Let us not all act as if, they are all different kind of people. No, we are all parts of these people. So instead of us to always just identify how barbaric, let's remember that we have our grandmothers there, we have our mothers, our brothers, our siblings living in some of these communities, and we need to make a direct, intentional approach to all the various communities and see how we can begin to change, not just condemn, because the easiest thing to do is condemn over Twitter and social media and talk about it and feel good about your condemnation. But no, there's so much more work to be done.
Another thing is all of us cannot go to do that, but there are people who can, and we must support them when they do.
Absolutely.
When we have these non-governmental organizations come out, how do we support them? How do we take them round? How do we make them understand that this and this is what has served these people? How do we communicate with them? We must work hand in hand with them in our little way. This conversation we're having here is also enlightening people. So you that you are watching it at home, still go back and gist your grandmother, gist your mother, let them pass on the information. Everybody cannot just be trooping to the village to go and pick up one thing or the other, but we must hold each other's hands.
Let's take a few comments on social media and wrap up on this.
What I'm seeing here is walkover. I didn't see crossover.
Walk over, me pay you lie down, you walk over, you white.
I can walk over on top of you.
Hey, white that's advanced English. We don't have advanced English in Nigeria. It's just walk over. If you that walk over, that one is that's intermediate.
Not wakapa.
No. Please take a comment.
Yes, I'm trying to get some tweets.
Okay.
Comments, should we wrap up?
Antnam says Oshun has a big genital mutilation problem.
Exactly.
Not even
That's
little.
my mention.
Ismaila says religion was supposed to chase away many of these barbaric practices, but unfortunately it's sad to see or hear that this stuff still exists today. I can't process it.
We have to wrap up on this, but I think in a nutshell, everybody has condemned this because many people believe that it's wrong at this, especially in 2023. However, it's just one thing to condemn. It's another thing to how do we solve the problem? How do we begin to resolve it? And there is a 360 approach. Government has its own responsibilities. The church leaders have their responsibilities. The oloris of the obas, the kingmakers, the bales, the first ladies of, everybody who is in leadership role realize that there's so much more work to do because it's easy to do the infrastructure and do the various, the top heavy things.
Exactly.
But they are really ground. They are really
you
ground
don't talk
work.
where matter day.
Okay, I'm wrapping up.
Now where matter day you talk
I'm wrapping
Say
up.
don't those infrastructure. It's not easy. That one you don't show yourself. Hey,
Commission it and so.
I commission this road.
Right. So can I continue? So there's groundwork to be done. And those are the softer skills we need to begin to encourage and push in communities so that they can change, so that eventually culture will evolve to be more empowering than disempowering.
People.
That's what we can take on this segment. When we come back, we'll take on another hot topic. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So there's another topic that is also disheartening that we're going to talk about right now. It's teenagers and drug abuse and a drug addiction. We saw a video recently, I think on some of the blogs, about possibly a father being beat up by his son. Now, we can't verify these stories, but these things always come on social media, but we're referring to it as we're just taking it as a reference point. So there's a story about a man being beaten up by his son, whose siblings had complained that that's how he always beat up their parents. He's addicted to drugs, and when they get to a certain high, they don't listen to anybody. And many of us have actually experienced this, especially parents who are from, I would say probably even the middle class. They always kind of just hide these things. And all Nigerians in general actually have experienced where teenagers get to a certain level and they're totally unreachable, where they've gotten into drug abuse, and it's difficult for you to stem that. So our conversation really, how do we help parents who are right now, as we speak, being beaten up by their children who are drug addicts? That's the conversation. Please call us on 081-270-53687, 091. The other numbers on your screen, and you can call us. You can also tweet us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag your view TVC so we can read your tweets. This is not an easy thing because some of us have had a bit of experience where you hear stories of family members that have experienced this. Many people don't like to talk about this. They keep it hush-hush. They manage it. It's embarrassing. And many parents know that they should seek help, but they're so scared of seeking help because they don't want the word to get out. So they kind of they don't want to be judged. So they kind of just manage it in our home. How do we begin to start this conversation on child abuse, abusing the parents, or parental abuse by kids?
I think we should start by discussing dealing with drug addiction. That's a...
Or the pandemic that it has become.
Yes. Getting government putting enough awareness, NGOs going into providing facilities to help drug addicts. Every time I think about it, would always remember Tony Rapple's foundation that has been able to reform people. There are many drug addicts that would really want to be reformed, but they just don't have access to the know-how of how to get out of that space. They got trapped, maybe they were introduced to it by friends, peer pressure, whatever it is. These people are in actual fact victims, in most cases, of the gang that are pushing the drugs around. And the byproduct is this unruly behavior. Very, very shocking, horrific video of a full-grown young guy beating up his father, obviously under the influence. That will not happen if we're able to solve the real problem, which is the drug problem. So what are the ways we can solve drug problem? How can we ensure there are timely interventions, places where family can go and have a safe space? Hospitals, people don't go to the psychiatric hospitals, sadly, not as many as should. But I feel that we should go back to showing videos. Auntie Annie has this horrible picture that I feel if you show that picture to younger people before they get into drugs, like teenagers, before they even like 13, 12, 14, it might scare them not into trying it. We need to go back into educating people from secondary school. Maya recounted when she watched videos of people that had horrific drug experience. I recall those videos too. They came to our schools. NGOs came to the schools, show us the video. We all sat down, we watched the video, we're like, hey, I'm not going to smoke, I'm not going to drink, because those videos connected with us. We need to go back into that phase. Art preserves culture, and art changes culture. And what we see in our movie industry now is glorifying of drug abuse. We see it and it's like it's a norm. So we need to go back
really
there.
Glorify it?
Our industry, go to music. On every music video, it's huge
cool.
puffs. It's cool. You are not cool if you have not experimented. So we need to go back to those places and start promoting and asking
like
them to
the
support.
angle you're taking, Tokwe, because I was going to focus a bit on the beating up. But you see, there's so much. The beating is a
byproduct.
It's a byproduct
of the real
problem.
Yeah.
So you're right. Let's focus on this
the
drug
real
abuse
problem.
on teenagers.
So I was having a conversation recently with a friend, and I was saying that I'm trying in my head to, I haven't sorted it out yet, but I'm trying to have conversations with my children on how they resolve painful emotions. So if somebody tells you no, rejection, somebody says, no, you're not having this, what do you do? Those are deep conversations that we don't have, because this is part of my line somehow. And I realized that the person who is beating, you are seeing the beating in the surface. The person who has taken to drugs is running away from a painful emotion. Is running away from frustration that has been deeply rooted. It could be from the time he was a child, he was being bottled, he regressed, he kept pushing it down and pushing it down. It became regressive. And so when he jumped into drugs, when he's high, he now has to lash out to the person he has a deep frustration or resentment against. So growing up, we had a neighbor at the time whose son will come home from school and beat him up. He did it the first time, he did it second, and this man was rich. First time, second time, the man went, called police, they bundled him, they arrested him. He came back after a few days, he found the drug, then it wasn't even drugs, he was smoking Igbo. Once he's high like this, he starts beating his father. And then they had to bundle him to, Delta State, they had to bundle him to Lagos and checked him into a rehab, a proper rehab. I think, I don't know the name right now, but a proper rehab in Lagos State. Checked him in there. He was there for 6 months. He was there with proper medical care. When they started having conversations, he had to expose where the root of the problem. He had to expose how, as a child, he witnessed his father molesting the sisters. He had to expose a lot of things. And so, because he didn't have an outlet, when he now found drugs, that was the end result. Yes, exactly what was in his mind. So, when people are not able to manage painful emotions, they are not able to talk about it, they are not allowed to express. Even as children, I'm very weary when my child is quiet and boning and not talking to anybody. I get afraid because
red flag.
Yes, I'm asking, what happened? What happened? Why are you so moody? What's happening? This is not the age where you are supposed to be moody. This is your play age. You know, where you're always talking to the mirror, talking to yourself, playing and disturbing everybody. That's the age. But when you start getting to that age where you now sit down and you are brooding, I am worried. So we need to go back to the crux. Do you know your children? Do you ask them questions? When they report something has happened to them that has hurt them emotionally, do you just dismiss it and stand up and move on? and allow it to fester. Because the truth of the matter is, if you do not learn as a young person, where your brain is still developing, to manage rejection painfully, because the life can hit you bass-bows, anything can happen to you. And if unfortunately you happen to find drugs, that is it, you're gone.
You know, I need to cut out that clip and share it, because it's really important. It's something parents need to really take in, because handling those emotions help young people. And from what you're saying, I was just remembering when I was growing up, I know somebody who fell into drugs, and he was angry. He was angry at his siblings. He just felt that he got the shorter end of everything in the house.
Wow.
And that was not true. He was the most handsome, the most accepted, the most loving, the most jovial. But
he didn't feel that way.
He didn't feel that way. Everybody
see it.
loved him. And drugs was his only outlet.
Yeah.
And these were drugs that he would beat people up. He would, I mean, just wake up one day and realize the TV is gone. He
has sold it.
He has sold everything.
So when they say, let Auntie.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not only if you have emotional repression
Poverty.
that,
Yeah, poverty.
that you
Have
go
it.
into drugs.
Yes, part of
Different things make different people go into. Peer pressure is another very important factor.
True.
My friend is taking drugs, so me too.
I want
Yeah.
I want to take. Now,
And all of them look cool doing it.
there's this syndicate that NDLA just uncovered.
Yes.
This Imomijio in Port Harcourt with these two very flashy influencers who, and his drugs.
Hell.
They I think it was tramadol.
Yeah.
That
Peer
they,
pressure and cash, yeah.
and you know, it's what people see is the glam. Nobody has seen the pain that they have put families through. Because those people, for that business to thrive, they must make sure you take drugs. So they're going to target the young kids. Now, what has happened? Like in Lagos, I will only talk about Lagos because it's Lagos I live. I don't really go anywhere else because I'm afraid. But, you know now.
That's the covers. Go ahead.
So, but in Lagos, I've noticed this pandemic of young kids taking these drugs. Now, a few years ago, I'm going to use my own self as an example. A few years ago, outside, we used to have green outside the shrine, with trees and everything. If I see you sitting out there, I would just drive you away. Now, I see some people, they sit, some young boys, they're sitting outside. Now, these are boys who, they grew up.
You saw them growing
So you
up.
saw them
They
grow
were
up.
kids.
You saw
They
them.
are now young boys. They are now maybe in their 20s.
20s, yeah.
You know? So that Shrine is 23 years old. That means they were not even born
Yes.
when...
Yeah.
But they have grown up and they have been indoctrinated by some people. Some people have brought drugs to them. And now... So, you know, every day I will chase them away. I will chase them. I will come down. I will run. Don't say... When I go...
They come back.
When they say
When I
cars
chase them,
drive out.
once I not drive out, drive inside the compound. If I come out 5 minutes later, they are back there.
Hey.
So I now went to them. I said, because if I go to police, I'm not solving your problem.
Yes.
Tell me, what can I do to solve your problem? Some of them said they wanted jobs. One now said, yes, just use me. Use me. I will drive everybody away from here. But somebody had told me that that's one.
Is the chief.
Was the one selling.
I said, oh, yeah, bring this bag. I opened his bag. Hey!
Oríṣiríṣi concussion.
I said, and he's a young kid. So I went to this NGO that I know. I said, look, I want to help these boys. I don't want to take them to police.
What do you...
It might not even be...
Counterproductive if they get to the police station.
It's
When they get to
counterproductive because
they'll mix
Yeah.
with other criminals.
They need reform,
Yeah,
reformation.
exactly.
They need rehabilitation.
I'm not powerful enough
Rehabilitation.
to, or I'm rich enough to, but I can ask people. So I've started asking people.
So that's what we need to begin
what
to
can I
do,
do
YK. You know, because
about these boys?
peer pressure is
But we
real.
should go. Yeah. So there's a case of there's a place of peer pressure. There's a place of trauma, which BC highlighted, and there's a place of, you know, there are normal being lonely. Being lonely, people don't understand that we are not created to be alone. And in most cases, people cannot deal with the thoughts that go through their mind when they're alone. So when people are when people are lonely, they tend to find ways to cope with their loneliness. I don't have friends, or I'm not friendly, or people are, I don't have friends in my class. It's okay. We need to help children. And then when they become teenagers, they need to have companionship. Many times, a lot of parents struggle with understanding their teenagers, and we don't deal with them, so we leave them. But that's the time where we need to be more in their faces, because perpetually. I was just lucky to escape getting into drugs, because my parents really, really shielded me, but I was largely alone. So it was just a case of I did not have anyone that could influence me into it.
You did not meet a bad person.
Bad person, and there was a lot of prayer. But I grew up in an area where drugs was very prevalent. And it was, in Malto Estate, they were smoking weed every corner. Like, I know the smell of weed from when I was like 15. So, like, I could know that there's something going on there. Don't go there. But I saw when I got married, I went back home and I saw children I grew up with. They had become addicts. They had become addicts, and they were
mini lords.
Kingpins. Like, somebody was bringing children, and I saw this boy. He was running there, and I'm like, I know this boy. Like, we grew up here. And now you are the one stopping trailer to collect money, the money you will use a few seconds later to smoke or to take drugs. We need to understand that there is a major pandemic going on with the drug in the drug world, and it is not a punitive measure that will solve the problem. We need to make access to what do you call those stuff? Rehabilitation available to people. Then the place of therapy. People don't talk early enough
about their issues.
People have issues and they will bottle it up. You don't share your problems. You don't share. Did I even just? I think maybe I noticed something happened in my house yesterday. I called almost all my friends. I was like, "Hey, my son did this, so," and everybody was like, "It's not a bad thing, Mr. Bede. This is what happened. This is what happened." And everybody was telling me, "Oh, this is what you should do. This is how you should handle it." Even someone said that, "Have you spoken to him about it?" When we bottle up our problems, thinking like we can hide it, things get worse. Early enough, seek consultation. Quickly go to the hospital.
There's this part of poverty, and it's important for us to talk about it because there's always an assumption that, oh, once you're poor, all the problems of the world is in your head, and that's what makes you a drug addict. But you see, we found that some poor people that live, and I think Nima always says that poverty is just a temporary state, or is a white there's a phrase she uses. It's a state you're in that you can always get out of. Because people make it look as if, oh, there's poverty in the land, and that's why these people are in trouble. Because that community you say you went back to now, somebody could say, oh, it's because the person wasn't educated, or the person that was left in this community. That's what, anything could have happened. But can we truly equate poverty to drug abuse?
Nope, because most drug addicts are rich. You need money to feel that habit.
Yeah.
I know
no, leave those.
The high level.
I know one very rich guy.
Now.
I know one very rich guy.
Grid.
I know one very rich guy. We all know him here. That was on drugs.
Oh.
They used to meet him in the Kini.
Yeah, I don't know him.
He was with the poor, and I will tell you after.
We know him.
He was with his father rich everything. But me and you, we cannot afford that drug.
Never. So the thing is, you can't equate it, right? What I see is a lot of young people are not actively engaged in their mind. And unfortunately for us, this era of social media and gadgets up and down, we are letting a lot of things slide. At the time we were growing up, by the time you come back from school, you go and fetch water. You go and ride bicycle. You go and play tire. You go and do this. By the time you get home, you are tired, you are exhausted, you will sleep till the next day.
Our children.
Right? Now, anytime you see our kids, they have gadgets on. They are watching things. That's another one form of addiction that is there. They are not productive. They are not thinking. They are not using their hands. They are not doing sports. They are not doing anything. Their minds are not opening. They are not active in the mind. And so it's easy for them to find a way to just get this, because what they get from using the gadgets, it's like, what's this thing? Endorphins, oxytocin. That's what they get, that joy. That's what it gives them. Then when they don't have it and they resort to drug, maybe they test it, like you mentioned, peer pressure, they take it 1 time, 2 times, they get addicted to it. They want to always be in that state. But we need to make our children and young people understand that you cannot always be in a high state. We need to be very careful. All this positive is good to be positive, but things will weigh you down. All through the weekend, I was weighed down auntie, I was supposed to have classes where I would teach positivity and all those things that I not fit talk for the class because I was feeling down because of what happened to me. So they need to see these emotions and find ways to handle the emotions. We need to give them good practices. At the time we were growing up, they put us in church, right? We would go for this service, we'll go for that service. It looks like we were wasting our time, but those were some foundations that helped us. Even when we went to school and our parents were not there, we had a fear of, if I offend my father or my mother, or I offend God, there was a foundation that saved us. We are not grounding our children in those foundations because as much as we were grounded, we need to find something for them. So if you're not big on religion, your children at an early age must learn how to meditate. When they are feeling down, they should sit down, take a deep breath. You must teach, let it become a part of them. So that when life comes, whatever life throws at them, they will know that this too shall pass. And it's one of those days. I had a family member, a young guy, who, like the sort of example you gave, where he felt he was different in the house. He felt he was not as loved as his elder brother. He felt he was, abandoned. And they all went to the same schools. They had the same food. They had the same upbringing. In the parents' mind, they didn't understand why this boy is feeling different. But in his mind, he felt like he was neglected because he was, he was different. He was neglected because of other things. When they started having conversations with him, they realized that the way I shouted at this person was the way I shouted at you. Why are you processing your own differently? So they could have found it if they had listened to him as a young boy, understood that their emotions were different. They had two different temperaments. One was an optimist who, after shouting at him, he would carry his bag and go and read his book. The other person was a pessimist. When after you shout at him, it will take him months
before he will get
to forget. We must understand our young people.
But you see, okay, as much as I know we're focusing a bit on drugs today, and maybe at some point we'll also discuss people who actually beat up their parents, not because of drug issues. There are other issues. They have
angry with their parents.
Anger.
You beat me all my life, so now I will give you back.
So no, yes, that is there. Others will say your friends have bought a house, they bought a car, you have not. So there are different reasons, but we'll come to that. I mean, this is a conversation for a whole different show. But this one of peer pressure, I was going to share my own story of peer pressure because I had peer pressure. But exactly, and maybe I didn't want to come back to you because you would spend a lot of time, but I wanted to see how was I able to not allow peer pressure? Because I can't even explain it. I know that when I was growing up, when you used to hang out with your friends' party, not even friends' party, maybe my parents or my uncles come around their parties, and it was so cool to see them smoke in air conditioning. There's something about AC and air conditioner.
And smoking.
Smoke just, it's just cool, and everywhere is just nice. As a young person, I used to think, this is such a cool experience. So the moment myself and my sister entered America like this, experiment number one, we're going to buy Benson and Hedges. We must, now there's no mommy, there's no daddy, there's nobody, it was just us.
You must try.
We entered this, we went to go and get Benson, I can't remember what it was. And this thing, we put on the air conditioner and wanted to feel the experience. But we were smart, at least I was smart enough.
To pull yourself.
To pull myself, this is not why I came here. I didn't come here for this. But you see, so I can't say, is it parents, is it what I was told? But there was some kind of fear in me that, hey, your parents must not see you doing this.
It's what you've been taught.
Yes.
Even for me, something happened to me. I think it was I didn't want to, after being on the show, somebody was offering like, let me take you to Dubai. Me, married woman. I say even when I was a babe on the streets of Lagos as a model, they did not use Dubai to sleep with me. I say, so you cannot come and use at this stage of my life. Because as a model, it was in our faces every day. Everywhere. They'll be like, I just traveled, I bought this fancy gold, I bought this fancy phone. So it was in our faces, and the temptation then was to do Aristo or sleep around and get more money. But what pulled us back, what pulled me back, what pulled in our own cases back was because there was a lot of parental support, a lot of parental interaction early. And then we saw discipline at home.
So they beat us. So
there was discipline.
So it wasn't talking, because my own parents are not talking. It was beating and fear.
No, my parents were talking.
Coach, that's your own parents. But today, the coaches will tell you don't beat. Because they don't cause fear. Because that fear carries me. When I get around, I knew that I
we
couldn't
will say
do my
fear
father
was
would
not
never say,
beating. The fear was from the conversation. So let me tell you what the fear was. The fear was
my father.
the fear was not about the beating. It was the fact that you are going to lose in your future. All your ambitions will not come to pass. People will embarrass you. So it was the fear of embarrassment. My parents made me feel like if you now see the one you really want to marry, you now go to the person's house. The uncle now comes out. The uncle is the one that was the one you were. You know, it was my mommy concocted different stories, different scenarios in my head. So every time a man comes to me with something luxurious, I'm not like,
which of the scenarios?
before I now want to marry, you will not be the father of the person. No, you will not be the one to taint my future.
So in my own case,
that worked for me.
Training a girl child in my place was like, they try you. If you like, go embarrass yourself.
We have sent you to school.
I'm telling you, we don't even know if it's a waste safe. We are just there. Hey, if you like, go and bring shame. If you like, go and bring shame. That's it. You know, so I had sense on time. I knew I could not bring embarrassment to my father. In fact, when people tell me that if you get pregnant and you go home, what will happen? I say, the way my father will beat me, I will lose the baby. I don't want to subject myself to that torture. So that fear, you have to understand the young people that God had given to you to take care of, has given to you to take care of, right? You have to understand there are people, as much as I don't advocate beating and I don't beat, I still beat. I blend it. I know the one I talk to, that before I finish talking, she's already crying. I know the one that I'm talking to, he's looking at me like this. I go and wear short knicker and I carry my cane. So we have to blend it because the two of them must work together, yes. And everybody's personality. So we need to study our children and understand their personality. I have one in my house where after telling her, you know, off and everything, she brushes off and goes to carry her book and she's doing other things. I have the one that when I finish talking to him, 3 days, he's still sulking and bringing up the issue. Yes, when I do something, say, hey, mommy, you see now, this is what I did. You say, so I have different ways to handle those different children. Gone are the days where you use one blanket to say all of them are my children. They fed from the same breast. I will give them the same treatment. You can no longer do that now. And please, let's engage our young ones. During this long holiday, I'm already thinking of one is going to do PA. One is going to be sorting clothes. One is going to be sorting hair. And I will pay them for that work.
Tomorrow is the last day in school. I didn't want to take it. I said, you know, you guys are going to
they go work.
Just stay in the house. One of my daughters said, no, mommy, I want to go to school because when I'm home, there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
Engage her.
Bored. And I thought to myself, that's so true. There's nothing to
Engage
do.
her.
Engage. Find something for you
they
to do.
wash clothes, you pay them. Just
well, you know, I wanted to even, because YK hasn't said anything in a while, and she's raised a full-grown adult. And she's a grandma. She has collected certificates.
we are still waiting.
We are still waiting for our report card.
And Made is such an amazing young man, you know, so, and Rolary too, very, very, you know, but he's not a young man, he's not a full-grown adult. She's about to get married, you know. And I'm just wondering, how did they do it? Because this is...
Okay, that's true.
Yes, I always think about it. We talk about...
Because Fela was known.
The way they say.
They said, you can help us tell us the truth. They said that Fela was very, very into those things.
Randy.
Very, very randy and also into those things. So children growing up in those things.
Fela was totally against hard drugs. He was totally against hard drugs. He never denied it. And he made sure we all knew. My mother used to show us films. You know, she would put us in front of the TV, watch people on hard drugs. So in case you want to go that way,
this is your end.
This is how you will be. So you will borrow yourself brain, as Obiaju likes to say. And then you will... But
growing up in that circle, why do you think that at some point you see pressure and you want to get engaged in those things?
I think they also get to see a lot of the horrible sides of it.
Let me go ahead, Wike.
You see, I can't say that. Well, the truth of the matter, I remember my father showing me a jar of cocaine and telling me, never touch this. And it was like this. Never touch it. If you touch it, your brain will... And the way he spoke to me and told me about it, myself, I didn't want to because it stuck in my brain.
Could it be because you were a girl? Because a boy would touch it.
No, her brothers didn't. Her brothers, Femi doesn't even drink.
At least.
You know? Wow. So it's quite interesting. So could you now therefore say, is it possible that you can actually have peer pressure? I mean, I'm trying to find a way to see how somebody like that can actually come out without drinking, without using drugs, but yet you come in, you were raised in the community where you were seeing different people being so free and liberal with what they want to do.
In my own case, I was not only seeing it outside, it was inside. It was happening inside. So for me, I think what it did for my brain was that I knew what not to accept in life. But for my other people, it didn't work like that for them. So we all had different outcomes. So I saw the negatives and I said, never, this is not the life that I want. I was able to tell. And also, it could also be my destiny. Because the truth of the matter is, we like to test fate. Don't test fate. You don't know what your destiny is. You don't know what you carry. For some people, two of you will go through. No. Wait now. Because we came from the same family now. We all turned out different. We all saw the same things. I even saw worse because I was the first child. But we all turned out different. So it could be. And they're saying, why don't you avoid it as a parent so that you don't test your children's faith? You don't know the one that will fall in. If you play your part to protect them as a parent should, even if they fall in outside, they will find their way back. And even if they don't find their way back, you will know that as a parent you did your best. But if you bring it in, you have to be held responsible. Even God will hold you responsible. I gave you young people, young souls to raise, and you were raising them in this atmosphere.
Let me quickly just say one thing because I know we're almost out of time. There's a part that we also need to talk about. When our parents beat us, we knew they were beating us out of anger. We could feel their frustration. One of the things that I have learned, even when I try to discipline my children, is that I don't beat immediately you do that thing. I will not, because I don't want to vent. I would have, something happened in my house yesterday morning. Yes, I've told him, I said, what you did, I'm very disappointed. You will get punished for it. I'm just waiting. This morning, the guy reminded him, I said, don't think I forgot what you did yesterday. You are attending the school party tomorrow. You went for fun sport day yesterday. It doesn't mean I've forgotten. When I decide to address it, we will sit down, have a long talk. If we will decide the punishment, if it is a beating punishment, I'm still studying if beating is going to make any difference, or it is a abstinence from the things you love punishment. But have that conversation so that they understand you are doing it from a place of love. You want the best for them. And those are things that are important in shaping how a child will behave in future. I know that the talk of parents being beaten is a topic we shared a bit for today. But many of it is also from the fact that a lot of children resent their parents a lot. And because the parents did not communicate the sacrifices they were making for their child, each of those children at the time. So they didn't know.
A lot of these parents also beat up their own children. If you ask, yes, their own fathers.
If you ask them,
sometimes it's karma.
That's another angle. We'll talk about beating parents maybe another day. Mr. Gbenga Ademujimi was saying that one of the major issues is regulations of musical videos, elders engaging in alcohol and drug abuse. So musical videos, whether we like it or not, need strong regulation. Yeah. But see, I mean, when I was the director in charge of TV and the programs at TVC, used to vet, and I'm sure the TVC still does, they vet every single program. But then there was a bit of liberty in content going to cable. Because then there was hardly no regulation. There was hardly no regulation then. But for terrestrial, you dare not. So we have to cut out all the dancing naked and everything to put it on terrestrial. But cable at the time, so I don't know what the regulations are concerning cable TV right now, but it's like we need stiffer regulations to stop. But you see, people also have freedom of expression. So how do we now draw the line between...
Train your child.
See, I will go, like, when I was growing up, when my daughter was growing up, not me, when I was growing up, we didn't even have anything. TV started at 5, and by 11, the door closed. You are going to sleep by 8. So you have watched 1 hour before it's time to sleep. So we didn't have TV. So, and it was black and white. I'm sure none of you saw black and white.
I saw black and white.
I just wanted to pull your legs. Anyway, my daughter, at that time we had cable TV, you know. But then they didn't have Cartoon Network or Cartoon Channel. So cartoon was only from a certain time to a certain time. So she now got to read. Now today, your own children is 24 hours cartoon.
Yes, sir.
24 hours. And my daughter is like, my own children are not going to watch cartoon because I didn't watch cartoon for 24 hours. And mommy, you keep letting these children watch. In Nigeria, in England, they don't even get to. Maybe they get an hour. I should be sitting with them. YouTube. Hey.
Let me take this call, our final caller. Good morning, are you there?
Yes, good morning.
Go ahead, please. You're live, Bookie.
Okay, I'd just like to say you've made very, very lovely contribution so far. And I really agree with all the ladies. Sitting down to have a discussion is very important. Showing them videos of the effect of drug abuse is also very important. I think mothers should really take this seriously. The whole idea of spanking every time you do something is really not helpful. But when you sit them down, explain why it is wrong. It's very important, and we should always focus on that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bookie.
Amazing.
We have to wrap up. Any messages we have to take?
This person is like me. September Production said, I grew up with a father that smoked, and he made me hate the smell of cigar or any kind of smoke. I remember when some people ask me, when some of the things you tried as a young person, I would say, have you ever tried smoking? I say, no. They're like, you? You did not try smoking? And I say, no. I still have not tried it. Bring lie detector test. I will take it. I never tried it, and I don't know how it just happened that because he's still an active smoker, I hated it. You know, but it may not work like that for all your children. So I think parents need to do a lot for their young ones, and also ensure you know their friends and know them well. So don't do selective picking of friendship. Know your friend, know them to their homes, know their parents, so that you can tell what company.
Can I read a message from Antnam? Antnam says, I've not seen any music video where hard drugs were being used or promoted. I watched horrible movies as an underage. It didn't make me act bad. Let's stop the excuses. He also says, why would you resent your own parents? Stop madness.
That's another point. We all watch movies.
Yes,
we watch Van Damme. We watch Steven Spielberg movies that he produced. Okay, that one is horror. But there are action movies, Sylvester Stallone, Bruce Willis, where they are dealing with drug abuse. So
you know that
movies
glamorize drinking every evening. My kids notice that why do they always drink every? I said, but you see me. Do I drink? Do I come home every day and take a bottle to drink every evening? But you see, when you watch movies, that's what it looks like.
We have to wrap up. I think this is just part A of this conversation. Unfortunately, that's all we can take. But really, the truth is that we can only speak from where we're coming from.
Yeah.
Many people who are in this right now and need help. How do they help their children? That's a conversation we'll have to have another day. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.